everybody, welcome back. Today, in honor of Cinco de Mayo, we will be making some Mexican street tacos. So to do that, we're just going to start first with our marinade for our steak. You could really do this marinade with steak or pork or even chicken, but traditionally it's done with steak, so we're going to do that. I would recommend a skirt steak or a flank steak, or I have this here is some shaved steak from Walden Local Meat, which shout out to them for still delivering. So I'm gonna do the marinade with that, but really whatever you have on hand works. So we're going to start first with about a tablespoon of olive oil. It's just gonna go right into a gallon sized freezer bag. This is the best way to marinate it because it's easy to get all the air out. To this, we're gonna add about a tablespoon of freshly squeezed lime juice and 2 tablespoons of orange juice. Now we're going to move on to our dry spices. For our spices, we're going to start with about a teaspoon of dried oregano. Next, we're going to do another teaspoon of cumin. Going to go with a teaspoon of paprika and about a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Depending on how spicy you like it, you can bring it up all the way to a teaspoon. Finally, we are going to add some cilantro stems. So we have the stems here because we're going to top the taco with some fresh cilantro leaves. So instead of throwing out the stems, I save them for the marinade instead of using the leaves and then throwing out the stems. So you can just kind of crunch them up to get some of the essential oils out and then just throw them on top. We have, of course, black pepper, about a teaspoon of cracked black pepper, and we have our salt. So about a teaspoon to 2 teaspoons of salt. We're just going to now zip up the bag, kind of give everything a shake so that everything mixes together. Now we're going to just squeeze as much of the air out as possible so that the liquid, as much as the meat is in contact with the liquid. You can just kind of push it down. And then you're gonna just zip the bag. So you're just kind of looking for it to be like that. You don't need to go too crazy with it. We're just gonna put this in the fridge now. You can marinate it for anywhere between, I would say, a minimum of 4 hours before you cook, all the way up to overnight. So obviously the longer you do it, the more flavorful it's gonna be. And then also the thicker cut of meat, you probably wanna marinate it longer. So like this shaved steak is pretty thin, so we don't need to go for like that overnight time. But if you have a big piece of flank steak that's like 1 inch thin, you are probably gonna wanna marinate it for longer. For anyone who is watching this video and is thinking that they can just use one of these packages of pre-made taco seasoning mix, please don't, because this is just full of so many added chemicals and ingredients that really take away from the flavor of the meat, which is really what we're trying to do, is to make this as simple as possible so that you taste the actual meat in the taco instead of all these chemicals and other ingredients. Since you can make this with really any protein of your choosing, the cooking time is going to vary across the board completely. So you can either cook this outside on just a regular grill, or you can cook it inside in a grill pan or just on high heat in a regular skillet. What you're looking for is you want it to definitely get some char on the meat. You're not looking to really like steam it in the juices. So to do that, we're not going to put in all of the marinating liquid while we cook it. Obviously, if you're cooking on a grill, none of that is possible, which is okay because the grill is much quicker. You're not really going to dry out the food as much. So you're really just looking to get a nice char on it. If you're doing chicken, make sure you want to cook it to proper temperature so that no one gets sick. Another way you could do this if you were using chicken is with an Instapot or pressure cooker. So this is just really easy as well. You just put the same exact marinade that you put on the steak or whatever other protein you're using, and then you add an additional 1 cup of water or stock. I would do everything except the stems of the cilantro for the marinade, and then you add the additional 1 cup of water. And then you can just add the chicken right in, and you can cook it to the same settings as seen in my chicken and rice soup video, which the link will be put below. Since I'm using the shaved steak and that can't go in the grill, I will be cooking it inside. If you have a grill pan, you can use that. I'm going to use just a cast iron skillet because you're still able to get kind of like that char on the meat with the cast iron, since it can go to such high temperatures. If you're using a skirt steak or a flank steak, again, feel free to use the grill, or you can also use a cast iron as well and then just slice it afterwards. I always find it better to char the tortillas before you use them. So you can use corn or flour tortillas, whichever you prefer. And to char it, I just put the tortilla directly on the burner, turn it on, put it on about medium, and we're just gonna let it char, and then using tongs, we're gonna flip it over once it's a little bit blackened. If you don't have a gas stove, you can also put this in your broiler for about 2 to 3 minutes, and you will get the same effect. And then when this is done, you'll have a perfectly charred tortilla. So we have our steak taco here, and on top of that we just have some avocado and white onion and some cilantro. And then for the chicken one, it's the avocado and cilantro, and then of course lime just to squeeze on top, and that's it.